Suka seko tingamae Yanga ina mobali nakai Mantalo buka mama Alana Kasukisa bilo bela boya kako Ikwela yanga ina sheki Suka lilikama Yebaki Suka seko tingamae Yanga ina mobali nakai Mantalo buka mama Alana Kasukisa bilo bela boya kako Ikwela yanga ina sheri Suka lilikama Yebaki Suka seko tingamae Yanga ina mobali nakai Mantalo buka mama Alana Kasukisa bilo bela boya bako Ikwela yanga ina sheri Suka lilikama
All right, so we can start this session. So I want to welcome you guys for this session. Alphonse, I can see you. How are you, Alphonse?
I'm very fine, thank you.
All right, so I want to introduce tonight's session. So tonight we're having a conversation about in-laws or outlaws in marriage and relationships. I know these are very interesting kind of discussion, but it will be interesting maybe to have a perspective of everyone who will be joining tonight's session. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome you guys. You can join, it's very easy to join. We have put the link on the description of this video, so you can actually be able to join. You just click the link, takes you in. All right, so as maybe we wait for you to join, we'll start this conversation with Alphonse. So Alphonse, you can do a quick introduction and then we'll go to this discussion.
Yeah, oh, thank you. My name is Alphonse Were, based in Nairobi, labor policy consultant. Yes, and I'm happy to be in the show.
Fantastic.
Now that you're dealing with relationships, I'm in a relationship. I have one female wife and 3 daughters. All of them are girls.
All of them are girls, eh?
Yeah, they're daughters and they're girls.
That's interesting. All right, that's funny. Anyway, so first, maybe the first thing I want to comment is, of course, we have seen so many scenarios playing in Kenya, and we have seen so many cases everywhere in the world, maybe in the US, whereby some in-laws, after a spouse has died, especially a man, Alphonse, the man dies, there's usually no peace in that relationship. There's always some fight. First, even before we go to this discussion, I just want to know what role do in-laws play in a relationship and even in marriage? You can start there.
Yeah, I think today I'll try to be brief, because relationship issues are very emotive and they carry people with emotions a lot. So I'll be trying my best to ensure that I don't go overboard. But when I go overboard, it will just be once in a while. Now, the in-laws are what I will consider the social support system, because these are family members and they're usually the first line of defense. So these are brothers and sisters. These are aunties and uncles. These are the parents from the other side. the parents or to your partner. And so ideally it is the other family of your partner now coming to be one family with you through this marriage relationship. Is that what I'm understanding when we talk of in-laws? So I think their role is mainly to provide support system, the social support system or the psychosocial support system. They give you the line to where to run to, so that when you are alone and things are thick, you ask yourself, who is with me in this? Who can understand me? Most of the time, you'll find that the family is the safest place to run to, because you are one of them and you're one of their own. It should always be that they cannot leave you to be on your own, regardless. So I think, to me, that's how I view the in-laws. They are the extended family, extended by the marriage, and coming from their side or the other side of partnership, so that the parents and the family of your partner becomes your in-laws.
Right, interesting. So I saw Jackie earlier. She said today she wants to watch and just from the fence. But anyway, maybe let me get, what is the positive part of these in-laws? What is the good thing that they are supposed to be doing, which they usually tend not to do?
Now, this requires, we have different experiences. Sometimes we blame in-laws for what we don't do. So the best will be to have a variety of people with various experiences. That way we are able to come up with something fairly representative, because marriage is one of the institutions that nobody can become a professor. So if you are to have the desire to commit, which is done through formal marriage, then you formalize by getting the certificate before you start that life, because you will never come back for graduation. And it is because part of it is because of the dynamics, like the in-laws dynamics. So what is it, the positive thing? It's just asking, what is the positive thing about having a brother? Yeah, having a father, having a mother. No, your mother is a very strong part of your life. Yeah. So if you have a careless mother, then she will also become a careless mother-in-law. Yeah. If you have a careless father, he will become a careless father-in-law. If you have a careless brother or a careless auntie, when they become in-law to your spouse, they'll definitely become careless. So if you have strong persons who have a holistic view of life, and for that matter, holistic means good for you, whether it is something looking bad, but it has good results, it has good intention, then those are people who can provide very strong synergy when it comes to your marriage. They will let you know how to maneuver around difficulties. They will let you know how to invest if they never invested, or if they invested earlier. They will tell you what to, if they are younger. They will be there to look up to you. So they will always give you the challenge to feel like you need to guide them by doing the right thing. If they are elderly to you, they will always be there to tell you what they did right that you should emulate and modify higher, or what they did wrong that you should avoid and do it differently. So I think, to me, it is a social structure, it's a social system around the person and the people married and relating in a way that it is just the other family. So if the family's value are different, then definitely they will bring different values, and you might struggle with that, and you can easily view that as negative. But if you have similar, or within a similar framework in terms of value system, then you'll have a lot to enjoy together, a lot of support from each other.
All right. Yeah. So I want to mention, please join this session. I hope you guys are not scared to discuss this one. So I'm hoping you guys can join. Please join so that we can have a variety of views in this topic. And maybe you can share different experiences that you have gone through, maybe in the hands of in-laws, or we call them maybe outlaws, I don't know. But anyway, first, Alphonse, also, maybe can you mention when it comes to marriage, right? I know there's a definition from the church side, and there's also a definition from traditional side. Of course, marriage, other people say you have to go through the right way, which is you do maybe like yesterday we were discussing. But there's those men who actually have different, have maybe 2 or 3 wives. Yeah. Now the issue is when when after the spouse leaves, maybe after he dies, and then there is one person maybe who takes a charge, which usually is maybe the first wife. Now, in this scenario, in this country, how do we ensure that even those that were not catered in that marriage can actually benefit in the case of the demise of the spouse?
I don't know if I've understood your question. Are you talking in a situation where a man is married to multiple women as his wives?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the cultural process where it is formally known that these are the wives, or we are talking about the mistresses who are not even known to the public?
Both are right.
No, you see, there are situations where people just appear when somebody is dead. Nobody knew about them, apart from themselves and maybe the person they are claiming to be their spouse. So you see, marriage has a definition, it has a setting. So where you are a mistress, nobody knows about you, or you have never gone public. Now, that's a different and a difficult situation that most of the time we don't look at it from a marriage perspective, we look at it from a parenting perspective, where if that relationship had children, and then it is now the children's interests that are presented, not your interest as the other spouse. Because you see, when it's marriage, it's supposed to be declared. It's never marriage if it's not public. That's the truth. For it to be marriage, it must be public. Now, let me maybe define matters marriage when it comes to Kenyan context. Now, in the Kenyan context, I think we have around 4 types of marriages that are well recognized. The first one is the civil marriage, the one that people get to be married at the Attorney General's office, which currently, due to COVID-19, has been suspended. So if you had a plan and you already booked the date, definitely the dates have been changed until further notice for COVID-19 situation in Kenya. So that is where you go to the Attorney General, and what you need is yourself and your partner to be witnesses. I think that's all you need. Then, of course, the office of the Attorney General will provide the officiating person who will officiate on behalf of the government, and then you get married. Now, that type of marriage is monogamous. That type of marriage is monogamous. Yes. We also have. Are we having an echo?
No, just continue. No echo.
Okay. So we also have Hindus getting married. Yeah, in the Hindu tradition and Hindu way. Yeah, so that is also recognized in law. Then you have Islamic way of getting married. Yeah, then we have Christian way of getting married. Now the Christian way, also you marry one wife. The Muslim Islamic way, you marry more than one. It's potentially polygamous. But for the Attorney Generals and the Christian type of marriages, those ones are monogamous. You marry only one spouse. So existence of the second spouse is outlawed. It's out of order in law. And therefore, you can use that as a basis even to ask for divorce because the law allows that to happen. So, but if you got married through the Islamic way, for example, now that way of getting into marriage is potentially polygamous. And I think I haven't read the document, but from my interaction with the Muslims, if resources allow, the man can marry up to 4, legally marry up to 4 wives, if resources allow. So to them, the pegging is on, can resource allow you to sustain another wife and another one and another one, and that number continues up to 4. When it comes to those that I've described, the ages, which I want to put aside as type 1. But type 2, I've described the Hindu, the Christian, and the Islamic types of marriages. Now, these 3 types of marriages are religious. only that they have different practices around the religion and how the religion is. So the religious marriages are those three that I've defined that I know are well and clearly recognized in Kenyan laws. But also we have another one, which is now the traditional marriages in Kenya, which is also recognized. Yeah. So you can still marry traditionally and it becomes a recognized marriage. Now, this traditional marriage, you have to go through traditional aspects. Yeah. What it doesn't have, it does not have the ages certificate, but it has a traditional way of being recognized. Now, in my culture, I know you are supposed to go to the ladies' side. The people from the man side are supposed to go to the ladies' side, and there you will first do an introduction. Then there will be some form of negotiations, dowry payment, and that dowry payment is a lifetime process. So you don't pay to own the lady. If you are to be asked how much to pay, it's something that you should not afford to pay in your entire lifetime. So the only thing is you negotiate to start giving the installments. And the idea is not to exchange the woman as a commodity, but to appreciate the raising of the lady, but also that fact that you have something to give as a dowry that has not been finished is a way of just ensuring that there's a way of initiating relationship visits and such, and saying, and it comes in handy when there are a lot of misbehavior, there's a lot of disagreement, and somebody left, the lady may be left, or the two of you separated. So I think the issue here is you must understand the tradition. If you use Kikuyu tradition, for example, you'll find it's different from if it is in Luya tradition, where I come from, or Luo tradition in the neighborhood, or Kisi tradition, or Kuria tradition, yeah. So, or Kalenjin tradition. So you find that in Kalenjin tradition, there will be a big role of Mursik, which Luyas are not even aware what Mursik is all about, yeah. Yet in Ukambani, you find that now part of the tradition is that men will visit the lady's home, and that process, they are the ones who will now have to prepare food, which is very strange, again, in Loyal land where I come from. Yeah, that how can we go to the lady's side and prepare our own food? Yeah, but in Kamba, as a tradition, it is part of the package. Yeah, so whether you are doing it in church, as long as the lady comes from there, if you are to visit, then there's a way of traditionally recognizing the origin of that lady, and you follow some aspects of that tradition. So the traditional methods of marriage, or the traditional way of getting into marriage, is also recognized, but it differs from culture to culture, ethnic group to ethnic group, sub-tribe to sub-tribe, and such things. And therefore, it's supposed to be well understood before you enter into it. Now, the twist is that of all that I've described, I think I've described around 5 things, which is within the principle of my knowledge. Out of these 5, 2 are, I'm sure about 2 being monogamous, that is the Christian and the civil in the Attorney General's office. I'm also sure of 2 being potentially polygamous, that is the African traditional marriages, as well as the Islamic marriages. Now, I have no much information about the marriages under Hindu, but what I know that most Hindus also marry one wife. Yeah, so I don't know whether they marry one wife out of choice, or it's the part of the tradition, or that one I have no idea. And what the law says about that also I have no idea. Yeah.
All right, interesting. So Irene is already tuning in. She's saying nice topic. Asante Irene. Actually, we are looking for a Luo to come and give us a perspective how this thing is done in the Luo land. And also, since we have Alphonse from the western side, and so we need also a Kisi to give us some perspective, and also a Kikuyu. Yeah. So if you could get those guys to
and even the Mijikenda, the Taitas, the Kambas, the Merus. How does the Gabra and the Boranas do it? So if anyone is watching, how do they do it in their culture? Particularly those who follow the cultural way of doing it. I may not be the best person to know how these things are done, because I personally do a lot more inclined to the Christian way, and mine was in a Christian way. Though the blend of the culture must be there, because there are aspects of the culture that you must have to adhere to when you are handling the relationship. But my bias was definitely Christian.
All right. So we need a balance. You don't need a biasness. But Sumba Randera is saying this is incitement. So, but please join. We need we need your perspective. So you can tell us. Maybe we have to be happy and proud of the communities we come from. So if you come, it will be interesting to learn about how you do it in your own community or from the area you come from. So Irene, she's from Kisii. So please, we have tagged you along. Please join the conversation, or you can tell us even from the comment how it's done in Kisii. I have very snippet of how these things are done in Kisii, but I will also be glad to learn the details of how this thing is done there. But anyway, let's continue, Alphonse. But now my question, Alphonse, is at this point, maybe I want to go about the case of exploitation, because now you are talking about marriages and all that. We have seen, and this is in public domain, that actually when maybe a young man who is fairly not doing well, maybe has just reached that time he needs to find someone to stay with, and then he decides this the woman I found maybe in Kikuyu land, and then when he goes there, and then you will find some wazes, some serious wazes, who want to settle some scores, and they will come up with maybe 99 goods that he has to purchase. What is your perspective in this?
Let's not look at it from a point of exploitation. The first thing is that, and I have said it when I was starting in my talk, that dowry is not meant to be paid once. That's number one. Number two, dowry is not meant for exchange. That means that you give us the girl, and in exchange, we give you this amount of dowry one-off, so that it's a transaction. No. Also, dowry payment is not meant to be something you can afford. So if you can afford it, then that is not dowry, something else. Yeah. So when you're given a figure, one of the things that dowry they're called dowry negotiations, not dowry payments as we commonly refer to them these days. It's supposed to initiate the culture of negotiating, and in that process, part of the things you need to do, and this is across all cultures in this country, part of what you need to go through is you must the team, the people who, apart from the Indians, because the Indians have slightly a different type of culture. So, and I'm not very conversant with it. That's why I'm avoiding to speak much around it. Where it is the lady who actually is supposed to pay the dowry, as opposed to the rest of us in the rest of the Kenyan cultures, where it is the male who pays the dowry. Now, that dowry is the men who are paying the dowry, or the group that's paying the dowry, is supposed to have a very good person in their team who can negotiate downwards and manage emotions. But at the same time, also, the lady side usually must have a person who is very notorious in pushing things to the extreme, so that when the negotiations start, now the sweetness of the dowry negotiations is that back and forth where you don't agree within 1 hour. Yeah, you start somewhere at around 2 p.m. and by 6 p.m. it doesn't look like you are moving anywhere. That is the negotiation skills, and part of that is the value that you need to pick, the riches that you need to get in that process. And those riches, how will you tolerate when things are being pushed so much on your throat? Either you need a lot and somebody is telling you they have none, or they have so little, or you don't have anything and they're demanding too much. How you, because that is a life lesson that you are supposed to learn in that marriage, that as you're going to marriage, these demands will be there, where you expect a lot and you get nothing, or you have very little and too much is expected of you. Yeah, and so it is a value that is being inculcated. But now when you look at it from the flip side, where you want quick wins, people want to go and say, I have 50,000, and then they say, okay, we needed 60,000. We can take the 50, bring 10 later. Now, that is not a marriage setting. That is not what the marriage negotiations were meant for. And therefore, and I think that's where some people came up with now what they're calling dowry payment. But ideally, it's supposed to be dowry negotiations, so that in those negotiations, it is the in-laws that now bond. And that's why in that program, that relationship, you're supposed to come with the people who are elderly to you, to the man who is supposed to getting married, and elderly people, to the people you call father, yeah, the people who are literally by relationship are at the level of your father. Though due to a lot of dysfunctionalities and a lot of urbanization, we nowadays speak friends, yeah, instead of our fathers. But the truth is, and if you go to cultures where, or families where culture is still supreme, you will have to come with members of the family, even if it is the extended family, that you call father, or you call mother, or you call auntie, because the aunties, the mothers, the fathers, the uncles have a role to play in that process of negotiation. So it is not, and I do not look at it from there, that it is not exploitation. It is negotiation. That is one thing. Now, but what is very stressful is the fact that we, the young people, have never developed a sense of culture, our own culture, and accept it. So as a result, we want quick wins. I am working, I can afford money, therefore I need this to pay, go and pay, and then you demand, actually the money in some cultures I've discovered, some people in some families, they actually demand it in monetary terms, which is not acceptable under normal cultural practices.
All right, interesting. Alphonse, you are talking about that. But currently, maybe most communities demand it in terms of monetary value, which is they convert, maybe if it's the cows, they will count how much the cow can cost, and then they will tell you to pay that a certain amount of money. But I want maybe, since you are talking about we should not look from that perspective, but now the question comes, even before you get married, you can get a lady, and then she will tell you that maybe in our community, in our home, in our family, you are supposed to pay 500 or 1 million, right? And then this man maybe has not even saved that kind of money. But I want maybe you to tell us, when it comes to even maybe this perspective you can give us, when it comes to now starting to live with that person, how does that play in the whole marriage setup?
But you're a failure if you accept such things. So don't blame her or him for such a failure. You are the failure, because you see, before you get married, be real in your process of knowing each other. Now, if you are real, somebody can't demand what you don't have. Never borrow money to go and pay dowry. Never. Never ask friends to raise money to go and pay dowry. Those are not dowries. Those are jokes, and you are the joker. And for our Kenyan society, the man is the joker who raises money from friends primarily, so that they can they can go and pay dowry. Do it within your means. So part of the marriage relationship is negotiations. So sit with your spouse to be, agree. My people want this. This is what I have. So, by the way, if parents are genuine, and most of them want the best for their children, including the maternal and paternal side, or the ladies and the gentleman side as well, they want the best for their children. So whenever they are pushing, is because they are in the dark. But if you told the lady to go and talk to their people, and she really wanted to have a relationship with you into marriage, then her focus will not be sending the 1 million, which is the only money you have in your account, to their people. But it will be, how can we start a life with this money? So part of it, for the sake of good picture, can we use 100,000 if we have 1 million? Send it to my people. We use another 50,000 to manage the logistics. Then the rest we can now use for settling down within the same amount. And that's a person to build you. But where this person demands, if you tell them I have 1 million, they demand to spend the 1 million even before that marriage, and you also enter into marriage, you are the fool. Yeah, because that is not the type of person you're going to have a future with. That's the person, once they confirm that, by the way, that 1 million was a loan you had taken in the bank and it's no longer there, they will leave you. Yeah, so, and we are always having somebody else somewhere whom we are compatible with. So my view is, the transactional bit of our relationship is just being shallow, and it's on our side, not the parent side, not the in-laws. Yeah, but for the in-law, you know, on a light note, the in-laws can be this side or this side, but the person who brings this whole process to have the in-laws is the lady in the equation. And I say this on a light note. So the lady becomes the law. If you remove her, then there are no laws. So there is no in-law, there is no outlaw. But if you bring her, then you can now define the in-laws. So you must understand this law very well. for you to operate in this system very well. Because if your lady does not understand dynamics of your home, she will start having a fight with your mother. And I know shortly we are going to enter into now the relationship into the in-law thing, because again, I have a perception. It's not true, but I have a perception which I really want to bring here. That the in-law issue is about women. It's not about men. It's the women who are the problem in marriages. But let me pause there first so that we get to the next. Now that I see Wekesa is on board.
All right, we'll get to that detail about who is the problem. But anyway, Wekesa, I want to bring you to this conversation. First, you can declare which side you are sitting on. Is it in Machakos or you are going back to your roots? I mean, are you going to speak from a perspective of the Masai? You are going to speak from the other side of the world. Declare your interest.
No, I will speak for Kenyans. I will speak what I know.
From the so
yes, from what have I gathered across.
Okay, interesting. All right, so because I want to push this to you, Alphonse is saying, like, no man or no one should be asked to pay a certain amount of dowry to any community or any family which they think they cannot have, or even that will prompt them to go and take a loan.
Patrick, Patrick.
Yes.
When I don't misrepresent me, I said the amount requested. I didn't say don't ask. I said the amount requested is not necessarily meant to be paid in full in one transaction.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's meant to start a relationship that should be built over a long time. So it's not a transactional relationship. So proceed.
All right. So I'm trying to interpret what you said. You said maybe there is no young man should be asked what he cannot be able to give. Right. That's at one perspective.
By the spouse to be, not by the other family members.
Yes, but by the spouse, that will be communicated to the other family members, right? So
no, Patrick, let me repeat so that you see, I don't want to misguide the people or us to be misquoted. Before we have the dowry negotiations, we will have met and have a relationship.
Yes.
Now, when we are planning that we are going to have dowry negotiations, we need to know our financial and our material status.
Yes.
And since I'm the one going to the lady's side, the lady needs to know my status. So it is me and the lady to discuss and agree that this is how much I can do. So that as she goes to tell her people, we also strategically start talking to her to talk to the parents. Because the other side, the most important people are her parents, to understand my situation. Real, not imagined. So that when things can get thick, she knows how to handle it with the parents. But after that, when the things will get thick on the other side, the parents will know how to manage the strings without necessarily breaking anything. That's the idea I was proposing. So that you see, if I go blindly and they don't know how much I have, how much I can afford, then I have trouble. And what is my trouble is that they have invested up to university for this girl. So they know that this guy came with a Mercedes, which I borrowed and they're not aware. And they will ask for 5 million, which I cannot even acquire a loan worth that amount if I was to go for a loan.
All right. Okay. I agree now. Now I get your point. Huh? Thank you. So, Felix, we are talking about, Felix is asking what topic are we talking about? So we are talking about in-laws and outlaws, especially where we have cases of spouses, when maybe, especially when a man dies, the lady will be left to fight it with the in-laws. And most of the time she might be chased from the family. There will be a lot of conflict in that family. So that's what we are talking about, whether what role do these in-laws play in relationships or even in marriage. So that's basically the topic tonight. Now we have actually gone to this conversation, and Wekesa, I wanted to push a question to you. Alphonse said, in terms of these guys who take loans to go and do maybe weddings or even marriage or even paying, especially let's avoid the wedding, let's talk about paying dowry, right? Of course, he's saying they should not. But we know so many people who took so many loans and to go and pay those dowries. So, and they are not even maybe married right now, or maybe 2 years later they divorced or they separated. What's your position in this, Wekesa?
My position will be it's not right. First of all, okay, the challenge is let me begin from where Alphonse was. I saw Alphonse talked more of what things should be rather than what things the way are. Kwa ground between different.
Yes.
He's talking from a point of what there's the way we expect the world to be, and there's the way the world is.
Yes.
And so we need to come from where we are to what we are supposed to do. What, for example, we cannot talk about, we cannot say dowry is not supposed to be exploitation. Yes, just as we can talk about Kenya, the makers of the constitution. The makers of the constitution of marriage who came up with dowry did not intend to create an exploitation. They wanted to create something that can bond the two families. But the reality is, the changing reality of life is that most people take advantage and exploit, take advantage and harass these two people who are financially incapable. They are just beginning life. Sometimes a man may not have a job, a lady may not have a job, but when he faces the in-law, some of them will take advantage and exploit them. And there are even those who say that even after he gets married, we may never receive something from them. So this is the time ya kumukamua kabisa. So some of them take that advantage and exploit, and that's maybe sometimes what scares many young people to get married. And you find that most of them want to use what we call cohabiting. Cohabiting is where you just take a lady and you stay with her. You don't even inform the parents. It's not that they have a problem with parents, but it's that they fear that when they are exposed and they are financially vulnerable, chances are they will not meet the demands of the society. Another thing is that some of them will be disqualified. They will tell huyo hana kitu. So you love the lady, yes, but your background doesn't support, it doesn't merit. So you will be told that our family is very poor, don't try. And so they get frustrated. Most of, we have moved away from a society where the marriage process was a good process where people are given instruction. They are also guided and supported. Parents used to have, we became from animal transaction of dowry, where when I want to marry, it's not me, Eric, to struggle and raise the cows. No, you just go to the farm of my father and then he counts 1, 2, 3, 4. In Luyaland, we do 13, and it has remained 13. What changes is just the valuation. So today you can be told you need to raise a dowry of 13 cows. But now when they come to valuation, they will tell you one cow is 50,000. And then they do the valuation. So you realize they will be telling you around $500,000. Wow. A young man will be frustrated and will be scared. And some of them even, I have seen a few engagements collapse because of agreement that never took up. Yeah, somebody just went and the in-laws showed him or her a blackout. Or you just appeared to the home of in-laws, the way they handle you You will behave like the spies of Israelites who said that in their eyes we looked like we are nothing. They reduce you to nothing. Then from there unasema kama ni hivyo, acha huyu msichana akae. So that is a scarecrow that some of the youths are having, and it even makes them very calculative. Some of them, you'll ask them, why do you? They will be told, they will say that I don't want to marry in this tribe, and you ask them why. Hawa wanaitishanga vitu mingi sana. You see how the process is long. And indeed, sometimes the processes are costly. You need you have loved a lady, yes, but when you go into the process, you realize you are not prepared enough.
Thank you.
Personally, I went through almost how many processes? I'm married from Taito. That is the coast side.
I hear it.
So I went through the first. I went for introduction. Then when I went for introduction, then I was told I go and come properly. So I went. So the proper time I went is I was given a budget, and we were told that you see, our community, the least people we can host is around 100 people. So you are given a budget of 100 people to host, and when you see the figures, and you become scared. Now you begin even negotiating for the second sitting. Now, when you finally fund that second sitting, you go, and then you have done exactly the list of the things you are given, then you are accepted. So they tell you, now you have been accepted. Now we need to begin a dowry process. You see, so there are many stages. Actually, I did like 5 events before I reached the final wedding.
All right.
So, I think we will proceed from there.
Yeah, we come to that detail. Irene is saying that is called, they call kufungua mlango. Ulikuwa unafungua tu mlango.
Najua, lakini sio kufungua, ni kufunga mlango.
Ajua hajaingia ndani saa hii, hata saa hii hujaingia.
Hiyo haikuwa kufungua, ilikuwa kufunga mlango. Nobody else can cross your path. Now you are the one. Ni kama kuweka mkuki.
Marking the territory.
Ni kufunga, you mark the territory. Kufunga mlango.
Interesting. So I want to go to a book, but guys, I want to do some, and then I come to you, Shikuku. Just a minute. I want to go to do something very quickly. So about today, I understand Yuanya Kodera is, I hope I've pronounced it right. It's her birthday, isn't it? All right. Can you unmute your mic, Abok? All right. Let me unmute your mic. Okay. Yeah, it's good now. Yeah, I'm saying I understand today is a birthday of your lovely daughter.
Yes.
So I want to make
happy birthday. Happy birthday, Abok. Happy birthday, Abok. Saitan.
Wait. Yeah. So anyway, we are coming to the conversation. Irene, she's saying, I mean, the first visit. So I don't know, guys. So I'm saying what I'm saying.
Good evening to you on this 22nd day of May 2020.
Abok, I'm sorry, there is a noise coming from your TV. Is it okay to maybe just tune it a little bit? All right. So is there some noise you, Abok, from the TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying I wanted to do something very quick, 1 minute. You call your daughter, and Wekesa is going to be the choir master. He's going to sing happy birthday. Is that okay? Yeah, please. We want to nurture great readers. They are the readers now to take after us. Please call her, and then Wekesa is going to be the choir master. And for us, we'll just be supporting this happy birthday song.
Yeah, just to let you know before you disappear, I don't know what's happening with my friend Alphonse. Since yesterday, I've not seen his face.
Oh.
Let's not hope it's not gender-based violence that you have experienced.
I am well, only that due to 1 or 2 reasons. That's why I haven't been visible, but I'm okay.
Oh, you are okay.
You have confirmed.
Yeah, yes. That's fine. Yeah. And then Wekesa has gone.
Wekesa, you are the choir master. Please turn on your camera. Call and above, call your daughter. We are going to take 1 minute to sing for her. Happy birthday.
Elsie, come here. They want to sing for you. Happy birthday.
Wekesa, choir master. Wekesa. Wekesa, can you unmute your mic?
I'm going to come.
We are waiting.
Anaitwa nani?
Wekesa will make my daughter to have nightmares, man.
Anaitwa nani?
Anaitwa Elsie.
Elsie, hi. Happy birthday, dear Elsie. Happy birthday,
dear Elsie.
Mnaongea kwa nyimbo ama mnaimba? Kuna kuimba na kuna kuongea. Mnaongea ama mnaimba? Happy birthday, dear Elsie. Happy birthday, dear Elsie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elsie. How young are you now?
Hi.
Wow.
Say
wow. Happy birthday, Elsie.
Happy birthday,
Elsie.
Thank you. That was one.
Wow. A very nice voice.
Nice.
Yeah. All of you have got my phone number, and it is registered with M-Pesa. Just singing to her may not make a difference. So
there's more difference, huh?
We are discussing about outlaws exploitation. Na kwanza wewe ni mmoja wao, wewe unataka kuexploit privileges za mtoto.
Wait. Now, I've been informed that actually your singing was terrible. Yani there is comment here.
Tulikuwa tunangoroma.
I can't sing until just proven wrong.
No, that was warm up. We will do after at the end of the nini. We will harmonize.
Yeah, with some cake.
Yeah, that was a warm up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Interesting. So, Abok, now bring your perspective to this conversation.
Wow, I'm used to you getting me to a certain direction because I found Wekesa talking, and
yes.
I don't want to go his way.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of where he went to.
And don't reverse what I said.
He went to Taita and I went to Kimini Nikitale. Those are extreme opposites.
Wait, yeah, you are my Abok, you are my in-law.
Patrick, you can end the show.
Wait, Wekesa, hold on. We are not at home right now.
I can demand for those cows you never paid.
So, this is the perspective I want you Abok to bring. Since you are saying you went to Kitale, and there's this guy who actually married from Kitale. I think let me call it Luyaland, which was this guy who married the Bukusu lover. I think it was an Indian lady married to a Bukusu guy. And now I want just to know the perspective in your own that community. How is it done there? Yeah, that's one. And especially, what is the role of the in-laws? Because the issue right now we have is in terms of the in-laws coming in and bringing a lot of trouble when it comes to issues of marriage, and maybe after one spouse dies, especially in this case a man. So how are women protected in your community?
Thank you so much, Patrick. I think Wekesa has talked about the Bukusu culture and how they do their things. And being that he warned me not to reverse anything he has said,
Yeah.
I won't go to that. But I know of a friend who recently got someone from there, and he will explain in regards to what the experience was. Let me just talk about my own culture, the Luo culture.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Number one, I want to say that dowry is an endless appreciation process that will only end when you cease to exist. And that means, even though most parents would want to give like a minimum number that should be reached or should be achieved, it should be something that is innate, something that is internally motivated, that I need to appreciate these people as long as what they gave me is still with me. I lived to see my father taking dowry even when I think I was 5 years old, and I'm the last born, and my eldest sister is 60 years old. So you can see the difference, and he was still taking the cows to my uncles. So by the time he was taking the last batch, I think he took 32 of them. But when you look at our culture, anything between 2 and 5 is okay. Anything between 2 and 5.
It's
And
okay for the start.
is okay for the start. Is okay for the start. But Wekesa told you that I'm the chairman of wedding, permanent and pensionable. And
Yes.
therefore that means the journey starts from introduction, negotiation, and until these guys are done in the church. And I've experienced different cultures and different demands and different different demands altogether. Others will count for you. This lady, I've spent money on her. I've taken her to school from primary to university, and now she's working. They are forgetting that you also went to school, and all those things they are counting are also invested in you. So when they make it look like that, they make it look like you are buying a person. Because, for example, if I'm selling you a T-shirt, for example, I'll look at the buying cost, I'll look at transport, I'll look at the overheads that I have, then I'll give you the overall cost. So when they take note of all that and give you that now your dowry that you are going to pay is 1 million, then it makes you think that you are buying that person. I think when we go back to the original idea, why are we paying dowry? We are just appreciating the parents, but really cows can never be the equivalent of a human being. And because of this, most parents have pushed their sons-in-laws to believe that they have an overall right over their daughter because cows were given in an exchange of this particular daughter. I had an instance where someone was saying that wewe unajua nilipeleka ng'ombe leo utanijua. Yeah. So in such a case, this guy is looking at what he gave in exchange of the person he's living with. I've also known of parents whom just prayed for the daughter and the young man and said, God has blessed us, and therefore you don't need to give us anything. What you need to do, go and take care of our daughter. Apart from that, anything else, just let us know. We are okay the way we are. So when you compare the two scenarios, you realize that at one point, the person whom was released, like with the blessings, just go and take care of her, has more responsibilities towards this than the other one, whom like Wekesa, I know he went through all those processes, and it makes you get tired even before you start off the bigger journey, which is the marriage. So in
which he finished the transaction.
So in my community, I think it's not really a big deal anyway. I just mentioned it's 2 to 5,
2 to 5
for the start. But we saw this young guy from our place who married from Meru, who took millions and millions of money. It depends with the condition of your heart and the value that you see in the person you are with.
Oh, interesting.
And even the resources you have at that time.
Yes. I know Wekesa didn't have, but I struggled.
So you are confirming that you helped Wekesa with this,
Well, I was a book when I was doing all this.
All right. So we'll be looking for you a book, eh? Now, I want Felix. I've pinned the link on the comment, so you can join this conversation. Yeah. So let me go to Shikukum. Now Shikukum, I now understand we are trying to get a balanced conversation because Abok has talked from the lakeside. Alphonse and Wekesa, this is not balanced. So we need
me. I told you mine was biased in the church perspective. So a cultural was minimum.
So
the bare minimum that I must meet.
So you are.
So Wekesa is for the Bungoma side of Luyaland. Luyaland is totally diverse. You need to know where Shikuku comes from. Most likely in Butere.
No.
The issue is there are different experiences. So let him share what he knows. He might have a different perspective from what Eric has and from what Abok has. Yes. Ama he can be that Bugus guy who got the Indian one. Because for me, I've shared even from the
wacha tusikie kwanza vile anaongea.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, brothers.
Good evening, man of God.
Thank you very much, Wekesa, Patrick, Alphonse, and Abok. My name is Peter Shikuku, but just to set the records well, I am Peter Shikuku Otieno. I come from Migori County. That means that I come from the lakeside. So Shikuku is just a name that came into my life by God's will. That is what I can say.
So talk to us as the descendant of Ramogi.
Yeah. Also to participate in the discussion that is going on. When I joined, I found my brother Wekesa talking, and I've also heard Abok talking, and I want to say that matters to do with dowry. First, I'm not of the opinion to oppose it, because it is one thing that shows how we are so concerned as men in reaching out to the sisters that we want to live or to spend our lives with. So it is not something that we can oppose, or I can oppose myself. But to add my point, from the lakeside, I had a book explaining how we do it from the lakeside. For sure, we never saw it as a big deal that required a lot of finances, a lot of cows, or a lot of the material needs. But I think as the time is going by, things are changing because people are getting a lot of exposure, and as we've begun what we call intermarriage, I think it is bringing into our understanding how other communities are doing it. And when you see how other communities are doing it, for sure there are people who have commercialized it to the extent that it becomes a burden to a brother who is getting into marriage or wanting to settle down until it becomes so difficult. However, if people can just understand that this is not something that is done as a way of exchanging a human being with money or with cows or with whatever is given, then it will bring a perspective of just appreciating that it is a matter of wanting to show your commitment as a brother or as a man, but it should never be seen as something that is subjected on brothers or on men, that you have to do it this way in order for us to give you our daughter or our sister. To that, it loses the meaning or the focus. But if it is seen as a way of appreciating, a way of just showing your commitment as a brother or as a man, then it means it will have a lot of the meaning. I've heard my brother Wekesa talking about how actually it was not easy. I didn't know such things are happening down the coast. I've learned from him. I'm happy that I'm in this program because I'm learning. And talking on the side of the Western, where Abuk was also talking, because I happen to have also gone that side, and it became a surprise to me because I never expected to be asked 13 cows, 12 are a must, and that 12 are supposed to be given to the parents, and then one is for the uncle of the daughter. I never expected that, and then they say that time has changed, whereby they no longer want cows that are just bought at 20,000 or 15,000 and below. They talk about their daughters that a time has come whereby they only need this what we call
grade.
Yeah, grades. Those ones. And then they each is given a certain price of money that you're supposed to maybe to pay, and then you start negotiation from there. What is good is that there is that room for you to express yourself, explain where you can reach, and they also talk where they can allow you to reach, so that you come into what we call a conclusion. But I can say that it is not something that on my side as Brother Peter I can oppose. It is a good thing. It is even in the Bible. It is biblical, because when we look at how Jacob worked so hard in order to get his wives, that shows like in our current time, that is 4 years, 14 of them just to marry a daughter. So in our times, it is not going to work for our in-laws, but showing our commitment through that kind of appreciation. Thank you.
All right, that's so interesting.
I think before we move from there, I think we have overemphasized on this thing of appreciation. Let us look at it from a legal point of view. From a legal point of view, because when people actually divorce, you are supposed to return the dowry. So it's not only just an appreciation, it's a karanta. It's something called karanta in marriage.
Okay.
That's by the way.
Yeah, let me just add something and to what my brother Shikuku has said. As somebody who is looking to pick the flower from the homestead, you are not allowed to sit where wazees are. And therefore, I had a privilege of sitting in that panel to bargain for him to get at least lower rates. the lower exchange rates. So
Favorable.
Yeah.
but there's something that Patrick asked about the security or the struggles that in-laws are going through, especially after the demise of the, let me just say, the husband. To me, this looks like there's it's a family that is disjointed. It's a family that is not functional. Um, when, for example, today, and I don't mean I will die anytime soon, but I'm just saying if anything happens to me, the first beneficiary should be my wife, because actually she is me. She is the other me. So where is this courage? Where do my brother get courage to come and inherit what I own, yet my wife and kids are living? So when you look at that, there must be a disconnect between you and your larger family and even your wife. When you are married, you become one, and you should be approaching every issue as one. That means even showing yourself to other siblings and other family members should be a united front, so that nobody gets that loophole or even that small courage to get into what you own. And it only happens where the husband has exposed the wife in one way or the other. And therefore, and in the case or in times of death, they find that as a reason to actually, others even chase away the widow. They even take everything. We have seen that in many instances, everything, because they say those things belong to our brother, not her husband, our brother. So for me, I look at it as a disjoint in the relationship within the family.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
Alphonse, I want to come
Yes.
to you with just a different perspective. Of course, we are saying we want to protect this spouse which has been left, which is mostly the victim is usually a woman. Yeah. But now there's also other angle where maybe the woman has been accused of maybe being part of the people who caused the demise of this man. And maybe there was maybe for her also to maybe get something out of it. Now, my question to you, Alphonse, is what role should in-laws play in such scenario?
You see, as I know, first of all, Abok has spoken the way I spoke, but he didn't hear me speak. From the way he was talking, he didn't hear me speak. And though yesterday he said that we disagree, but we will pick it from there. So today we picked it from where we agreed without having heard what I said. Now, Wekesa said that I'm saying what should be instead of saying what is on the ground. Now, I said one of the guiding principles for me is to share what I have done. So if it's something I've gone through, I also share what I've gone through, because to me it is easier that way, that I don't fake it. So me, I know dowry. Let me just close that part of dowry. That dowry is not meant to be paid. It's meant to enhance relationship for both two families who are coming together. As a result, dowry is given a figure that ideally you can't pay in your lifetime. As a result, the first skill you are supposed to acquire, the first moment you go to discuss dowry and negotiate, is negotiation skills. So that you are given a figure that you can't even if you are rich, you can't afford. But then these negotiations are supposed to be in a way that if you are serious about the marriage and the lady is serious about the marriage, then the two of you must have discussed this idea earlier to know how far you can go. Then she knows her home, you know your home. She will go and tell her parents how to handle the matter, so that as much as things get difficult, they are aware that we will reach here and we will not cross this line. And then
Can I ask you a question, Alphonse?
Yes, please.
How do you gain negotiation skills in dowry negotiation? Okay, or depending maybe on your culture. For us, actually, you don't speak. You have a spokesperson. Kazi yako ni kusikiza. You
Even me, I
only
didn't
maybe
speak.
give them the ideas. So you need to be people who talk like in a book to speak on your behalf, even if they are going to disagree. But you have to keep your cool. And
I can give you let me give you a quick example. When I was going for the same process, before going to her home, I talked to her and I told her, my dear, this is what I can afford. Go and talk to mom and dad that even as they bring people, they should know that this is how far we can go, so that other things will be moving on, but we can't cross here, because if they tell us to cross here, it will look like we have refused, but the truth that we don't have. Then because she was committed, she's getting married to me, and I was committed, I'm getting married to her. Part of what I had learned from my elders is her people care about her. So if they consider that she's genuine and serious, they will not want to disappoint her. And this is her mother and her father. Those are the most important people. So that the person they are going to have to lead negotiations will be well briefed to know the stretch he or she can go.
Right.
Now, for me,
Alphonse,
and
that's the ideal life.
No, for me it happened. So it's like, are you saying that it happened for me ideally? You see, if you don't approach things, then you don't get them. Things come your way, the things you handle. So if you don't go to negotiate, how do you get value of negotiation? I'm telling you what happened for me. So even if it has never happened for anybody else in your circle, I am an example that it happened to me, not to somebody else around me. Now, then after that, also
my thinking, Alphonse, will be
yes.
Okay. In fact, most of us don't talk from what we went through, but we talk from the general perspective. You realize that, and I know, Alphonse, you have, apart from you married, you have maybe helped 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 people get married.
Correct.
And from that, you have gathered some intelligence. So,
correct.
When we are here on media, we are sharing the things that cuts across.
Correct.
Because sometimes you can have an isolated example, which will remain a rare case in the society. But if I want to advise somebody, I will give an across spectrum of what happens, so that it's like you are drawing the line of best fit, the general things that happen in the society and what you think is the best for everybody.
Now,
first of all, share, there are also struggles. You present it as if it's all new. There are things, there are struggles, you have to share.
To know how to go and negotiate and successfully do so downwards is a bigger struggle than getting the money to go and pay. So when I'm saying this, the first thing I'm aware is that it is harder to get the negotiation skills and good negotiators in your team, and talking to the lady to actually understand that, and her going to talk to her people to understand that, to negotiate, it's a difficult situation than getting the money to go, because money we can fundraise for you. The money you can go and borrow in a bank. So don't pick my example to mean that it's a softer, simpler skill. It's actually the hardest of them all. Now, if you really want to get results, you must understand if you have the money, then you don't want to negotiate. So negotiation becomes a headache. But if you are thinking long term, then you must invest in a few things that will help you go a longer stride. Part of it is, this is a relationship, it is not a transaction. So immediately you don't know how to manage relationship, and negotiation is relationship, the payment is transactional. So people who focus so much on the transaction are the ones who have a problem of exploitation. Me, and I have several people in my circle. One of the advice I give the lady and I give the man. If you cannot understand, if my situation is real, that I can't afford 100,000, and then these guys must only get married to me if I have paid 500,000. That is a marriage that I will tell you, please walk out before you enter. I will tell you why. Because even if you enter, you'll come back to me and say this thing is not working. Those are clear primary signs that you are in a wrong place. Because the first understanding for me is that you must have a person that you have a level of convergence in realistic terms. So if you can't tell the person how much you have or can afford, then why are you getting there in the first place? If they tell you kwetu unajua nataka 800,000 and you are thinking how to get it when you know very well you can't afford 500, you are setting yourself for failure. So that you blame and say that greater statistics
now I like
is
the
in that
approach
direction.
you're approaching. I like the way now you are discussing. You are prosecuting issues. You know, the other time we were retelling the story, and
yes,
you need to, you know, there are many people listening to us and they have different issues. So you need to prosecute here. You prosecute the issues.
Yeah, Patrick will tell you. I know you'll check, but I actually raised the issues from an issues perspective, not from me perspective. And I was looking at how to address the issue, and that's why I'm saying that most of the issues, even though I give them that balanced and I view, the truth is that I also like saying that if the ideal is practical, then put the energy towards it. You may not get it, but moving towards it is a better thing. Now, you asked about the in-laws and the dead. Was that the issue, Patrick?
Yeah, that was exactly what I want you to address. I want you to address whereby this lady who has been accused, maybe to be part of the people who made the spouse to maybe die or something. Then what is the role of the in-laws to bring a balance whereby we want the right to remain at the end of it all?
Now, this is how I've approached it, and this is how I will advise somebody to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
The in-laws are secondary in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You and your spouse are the primary.
Mm-hmm.
So if you and your spouse get it right, the rest will get it right. If you and your spouse has a problem getting it right, your family members will have a bias towards their own kin. The male, my family members will hate my wife and love me, so my wife will be the problem. Her family members will hate me and love her, so that will be a tussle no end. So the first thing you need to understand is try your best to disclose what you have at all stages to your spouse first, not to your brother, not to your mother, not to your siblings. Because if your siblings are aware and she is not aware, what you're telling your siblings is that they are the priority, not her to you. And therefore, when they come for this, it's because you communicated that message clearly. Now, she should have the title deed or should know where it is. But where your brother is aware where the title is and your wife is not aware, then in such a situation, you have to revise how you are dealing with your spouse. So by the time somebody dies, at this point, we have never even learned about how to write a will. Now, there are some documentation that you started before getting married. And as a person, you used to put next of kin and beneficiary as your siblings. You have never changed those details. Yet you are married 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 3 years down the line. You are telling your siblings that they are the priority, not your spouse. So don't blame them. To me, I don't think spouses, if they understand and work together, then the issue of the in-laws becomes very strong. Not at all. When you see the in-laws coming in strong, the weakness has been exploited by the you and your spouse. So for men in these relationships, property is usually the contention. Property. So that my brothers, my father, and my other male members of family will fight my wife to take my property. But for the females, the problem is control and power. So my wife will have a problem with my mother, and that's why I find most women, the first thing they want to assess is mother-in-law. Because she can even be pushed out of her marriage, even before the death, so that these things, you came to take away the things of my son. Yeah? Or my aunties, the same. What should they do? Man, write a will if you have something, and just write a will, and the will should name who will benefit. If it is a general one, it should give proportions. Who is the priority person so that you don't enter into trouble, your child or your children, and your spouse should be the priority. Now, your other members of family, if you have a lot, may or may not benefit, but they should never overtake your immediate wife and children as the nuclear family that you have. They are the ones that actually are supposed to be benefiting from you.
Thank you, Alphonse, for that perspective.
But I want somebody to talk about the situation where I want somebody to talk.
Something I wanted to talk about what you have said.
Okay.
I worked shortly in one of the companies. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm coming to you, Ekesa. Right.
I was saying, Alphonse. I was just adding on the Alphonse part. Yeah, I was saying that I worked in one of the companies where they do the provident fund for workers, and one of the things I was having, I was seeing the nomination forms for the next of kin. That's where the drama is, because you find somebody on the nomination form, he has put a daughter 100%, wife 0. Some have put a daughter 80%, wife 20. Have put, so depending on, I think it also boils down to a relationship issue. If people have relationship issue, they will not. That's why if he has decided to give to the daughter 80%, there's no way he will share to the wife that I have given my daughter 80% and you 20%. So that's why they bring in the in-laws. They leave that details to the in-laws. So you realize that people have relationship issues in the family that makes them even to decide who inherits their properties.
All right. Thank you, Ekesa. You are very correct on that, actually. Absolutely correct. But now I want to bring another.
Patrick. That same aspect, we have ladies who nominate their mother, 100%.
Yeah.
In fact, ladies rarely nominate their husbands.
All right. I have
on the same issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue is we are discussing so much. Yeah, and the issue is usually the issue of the two of you, how you relate, and then how aware are you of this space? Because the truth is, even if you don't nominate me, if I am aware, I will claim successfully, for that matter. The only people whom we can compete with is the children. The other ones I can get if you left your spouse out, even if you wanted to assist your mother, their spouse can end up taking everything and your mother getting nothing.
Okay, thank you, Alphonse, for that. I'll do research on that. That ladies are actually in their mothers. That's fine. But bring another perspective to you. I wanted you to respond to this, and then we'll go to a book. Now that you bring an aspect of the nomination, I want to ask you your perspective in terms of maybe women who try to disinherit or other people in the will, because we saw some cases whereby the will is written, but people contest. This will has been interfered with, and now is being disinherited. What's your perspective in that?
Unakatika.
All right, you did not get my question, so I'm saying.
Rudia, please.
Okay, I'm saying in terms of your perspective, you brought about nominations of next of kin, even people who should inherit. We have seen maybe cases whereby if a man has 3 wives, which is mostly accepted polygamy, maybe one was married through a church wedding, the other one was not, but she has children, and the other one may be married in a traditional way. But when it comes to inheritance now, one wife, the first one maybe, will try to inherit these other people. So what's your perspective in terms of those women who maybe conspire with the relatives to disinherit those others that have been left with this man?
Okay, one of the thing we have said is that most of the time distribution of wealth is never balanced. In fact, most of the time it's based on a relationship issue, and you'll find that most people, even as siblings alone, you find that the father loves this one more than others, and he will try to give him more space in terms of inheritance. One example is we saw it. We were told that when the Mzee passed away, let me not mention, like the siblings were trying to contend with his resources because one of the siblings was loved so much and he was like almost controlling the whole estate of the late Mzee. So there were issues, and I think they sat down to iron out. So there is no law that says that you have to distribute your wealth equally, but at least you need to include everybody. But as to the percentage, it always left to the one who is giving out to decide. And when it comes, most of the time we used to know that elder brothers get more share than the others, but or elder wife gets more than the other women, but you realize that with the time, a man can love the last wife more than the first and the second.
Yeah.
And by so doing, because she has won her heart, he almost gives everything to that person. So the others will see that this person came late, yet he has come and took more share. So they have nothing to do, but they will wait until the Mzee is gone. Then they start to contest for what they call a fair share. So I think for me, it needs to be a good person needs to balance his family, because despite relationships has ups and downs. Today we can be so tight, and tomorrow we are not. So there are levels. We say relationship can't change, but fellowship can change. For a Bog who is married knows that his wife will remain his wife, but there's a time he will sleep facing south and the wife is facing north. Hakuna kuongeleshana. So there, it's not the relationship that has changed, it's the fellowship that is broken. So we should not be emotional, such that even when we are sharing our inheritance is based on how we are feeling about each other. It should be within the law that this person, I'm married to this person, this one is my child, and he's entitled to my estates, regardless of how tight we are, or regardless of even their standing in the society. Because we have seen even those guys who have succeeded in the society, maybe they are even at electable positions, disinheriting their brothers just because they have power and influence in the society. We should not look down upon our brothers. Maybe they never went to school as we were, and try to cut down their privileges. I think we need to be balanced in what we are doing and be fair to all.
Thank you, Wekesa. Maybe I want to address the last topic, and then we'll be able to actually finish this conversation. So the last one is, maybe I want to come to your book, and then we go to Shikuku. Now, are in-laws entitled for property inheritance? Abok?
Yes, Patrick. I think your question just requires one word answer. It's just one word answer. In-laws entitled to my property, our property? No. That's a recipe for trouble.
Why?
No. Because if I look at the types of families we have nuclear family and we have extended family. The thing that you are asking is my brother entitled to inherit my property? Those are two parallel lines that can never cross. I was a beneficiary of a brother who brother's kindness, but that was not my right. It wasn't my right for him to take me to school, to educate me. No. And therefore, right now, even if he has a lot of property, I cannot go and say that I'm entitled to inherit his property. Whether you are talking about the parents of your wife or the brothers of your wife or sisters or your own brothers, they are not entitled to any benefit they are getting as a result of you extending kindness to them. But the first and the primary beneficiary of any property is your spouse, your wife. Let me just take you back a little.
Abok.
Yes.
Are your parents or parents-in-law in this case, are your parents entitled to that? That the word entitled and now parents. You have talked about your siblings. What about the parents?
Yeah, I've talked about them. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of, I've just said that when they get the portion of what I have, they get it as a result of the extension of my kindness to them, because they belong to a particular sphere of family elsewhere. They have their own nuclear family. But in a case of my mother or my father, yeah, in a case of the two of them, there could be a slight or remote. I'm talking based on the relationship I have with my wife, then now my parents. Now, if my wife is there and is there, the primary beneficiary is her. My parents will get spillover. That does not mean I don't take care of them. That
No.
does not mean.
Abok,
Yes.
let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I think look at it from this angle. Supposing, maybe you are talking in an ideal where there's your parents are okay and the other people are okay. But look at it from this point. Sometimes people have what we call dependents. Supposing your parents are dependents, or even your brother. There are even cases where all parents died and you remained with your younger brother and you have grown in your family, and the only person he knows is you. So this is a dependent, and when we go to inheritance, they talk about, does this person have dependents? So dependents are not limited to wife and children. They can be even brothers. They can be even somebody you just adopted in your family and has depended on you the rest of your life. So this person is entitled to your estate because that is the only person he knows and nobody else.
Let me respond to that before Alphon talks, because when Alphon talks, he will bring a different dimension. But let me just respond to that. By what I'm saying, I'm talking about morality and law. I'm talking about these two things: what is morally right and what is legally acceptable. Yeah. What you have just talked about are morally right. Whether I've stayed with my brother for as long as I can remember, yeah, legally, I'm not entitled to his property when the wife is there. Yeah. So I'm looking at the primary cycle, the circle, then the secondary circle. In this case, even my own parents, as we speak now, may sometimes get more favors than the person whom we say falls within the primary cycle. She's getting that because I know she has no any other means of surviving. And in that case, therefore, it will be an extension of my relationship with her to give her something to protect her. Yeah. But we are talking about a case whereby I'm not there. So if I'm not there, and there is no legal document to prove that Wekesa is my brother, or to show that Wekesa depended on me, my wife will take the first priority in inheriting everything that I have, and then my mother will come secondary. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Let me move to Shikuku. Shikuku, I want you to bring your.
Alphonse wanted to talk. Huh?
We will reach to him because I want maybe Shikuku to give his perspective, then Alphonse, then we go to the.
Before you go to Shikuku, because I see the clock is ticking and you might never come back to me. I wanted to agree with Alphonse on the issue of the first skill that you need to acquire when getting into an institution of marriage is negotiation skills. And the first person that you'll engage in this negotiation is the person you are intending to marry, because you are crossing a bridge and you are crossing on the other side, which you may or you may not be familiar with. If you speak to the lady will extend this to the parents. And when you get there, everything is it's like a politician. You have sent emissaries. The ground is ready to receive you. So another advantage would be when you get these negotiators, the perfect ones, everything will go on. But if you get you don't prepare the ground, and then you pick these people with long coats to go and negotiate dowry for you, yeah, they might find it very rough there. So the first person to talk to is this person. And really, we have
Long
seen,
coats.
yeah, we have seen where love surpasses every other thing. And the lady, I have one instance where the lady even said, let me give you my own money, so that when we get there, I know what they want, and therefore for us not to struggle so much, let me cover up some one or two, so that we don't spend much time. They might even refuse, and I don't want to. I'm ready for marriage. So in this case, the first person to talk to is that guy, that person you are intending to stay with. Parents are third party. um the other thing that I want maybe Wekesa to tell us, because dowry negotiations are based on cultural. There's some cultural. Everything we are giving have cultural. How do we call it? Cultural connotations. They have something attached to them culturally. Yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah, when you yes, Alphonse, you are talking. And your mic is muted, so I can't. I'm
I
only
think
seeing.
speaking is called. It's okay. You can continue.
Oh,
I'm fine.
okay.
I'm fine.
You're fine. Yeah. So one instance where we were told to give gumboots what is the African name for gumboots? Or in your own culture, what does it stand for? Is it something that has got African origin that we can trace back and say, gumboots does this in our culture, like maybe lassos or maybe blankets or something? What is the place of these modern items in the modern marriage? Yeah. Or people, are we talking about communities or groups of people who are, as time goes by, they try to upgrade the items, they add unto the list of the items that are needed depending on how the society changes. Talk about gumboots and talk about kofia, Godfather, for example. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I want to go to Shikuku and then we'll come to Alphonse and Kesa. Can you
respond to that?
Or you want Wekesa to respond now?
Yeah, because it's borrowed from his culture, the Bukusu culture.
Sawa, Wekesa, can you respond?
Kwani unaenda? I think the items that are listed, it depends on the wisdom of the wazees, what they agreed on. And but most of these things they are symbolic. Ukisikia ni kamba ya mama, which means they associate that mother is a farmer. Na wanajua that kamba cannot come alone. So that kamba needs to tie an animal. So but there are three fundamentals that I've seen in all the cultures, because the items they ask are different, but they boil one to the same thing. One, in dowry negotiation, they cage your character, because in that negotiation things will pop out. Not only your character, but also the character of in-laws. That's why hapo mnaweza hata kosana. So they cage, that is before you start bonding as a family, you will start disagreeing on a few things that they will start understanding. This is how our in-laws are. Because not all those things, the way they request them is a must to give them the way they are. Two, they cage the resourcefulness. After that, they will say, wanajiweza. Wakiona hamjiwezi, next time, that sometimes even they can tell you go, and when you come back they are just because wanaona enyewe hawajiwezi. So they are catching the resourcefulness and then the character, and then they are also in that process they encourage bonding, so that you will converse and come to a point of agreement. So those although some of them have been kept, like ukienda for canvas, you need the irreducible minimum, they say there are 6 gods, and one of it you have to slaughter there. So I think they have their own way of interpreting that you have been adopted into that family, and as a priest of that family you have to slaughter one of the gods. Yeah, they have their own cultural interpretation.
I address the issue of gumboots and the Godfather in your own culture. What do they...
specifically?
Yes.
Okay, me, I went general.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's about Godfather is just about, okay, we regard the father as the priest of the home. Then this is a father who is, Kambut shows that ni mzee wa kazi. And you have to recognize that huyu ni mzee wa kazi, na huyu msichana alikuwa anamsaidia kufanya kazi. Sasa vile umemtoa, yeye mwenyewe ndiye atakuwa anafaa hiyo kambut na anaenda kwa shamba kulima.
Okay. On
such
that,
like things.
What is the Bukusu name for gumboots?
Malikopo. Wamal. Malikopo wenye orie na lundi kwenda huko.
If you want some terminologies that will make you happy, then ask in Kibukusu.
Yeah.
Shikuku.
I'm a linguist. I'm a Bukusu linguist.
Good. Mute your mic.
Next time you'll tell us what is Kamangurie.
All right. I want maybe Shikuku, you briefly address this issue which Aboko was talking about. Maybe a lady, if you don't have enough, you can actually talk with your lady, and then your lady can give you some money. Go and take to your in-laws. I want to give maybe you tell us briefly about your perspective, and then I go to Alphonse, and then we go to parting shots.
Thank you. Let me begin by saying that when we understand what brings a husband and a wife together, there must be primarily relationship. That is the foundation. And these are two people who have accepted to speak together, work together, make decisions together in order to build a strong family. And therefore, something that is going to be of the benefit to the family should be agreeable between the husband and the wife. The two must sit down and discuss, because this bride price that is taken, it is taken to the sister's home, and therefore she needs to have the knowledge of what is being taken to their place. And again, the man who is taking this should also be in a position to discuss with the sister what is in the position to give, in order to avoid what we call being overburdened by the fact that a lot is expected from you and you're not in a position to give that. So the two should sit down, talk together, agree on what they are able to do, to give, and then the sister should be flexible enough to get the side of the parents, understand what the fathers could be having in the mind, and then bring this to the man, because she is the intermediary. Yani she connects you as the man and the parents. So when she's able to get what is the mindset of the parents, and then bring to you and tell you that from what I can tell, my parents are expecting like something like this. So how do I talk to this lady so that we agree that this is what I'm able to give, so that if we go, we are not going to be stressed, because when I'm stressed, the relationship is stressed. And therefore, as much as we would want to be happy and pretend that everything is fine, things are not fine if we cannot agree. Then again, allow me to talk about these benefits that we have been talking about, in-laws. And I could listen how panelists were talking. And first I want to begin. I think this is just a personal opinion, but I feel that the moment we start bringing in-laws as the priority first, then we are going to destroy, or we are destroying the institution of marriage. I want us to agree that the first primary people in a marriage is the husband and the wife. If I'm a son of my parents, these my parents were married, and that is how I also came as a child in that marriage. And therefore, anything that they are to benefit, if I have grown up to the age of past 18 and I'm married, I have also formed another independent family that is independent before it depends on other families, or other people depend on it. So the moment we understand to deal with the family first as independent, so that if I have something to give to my those who depend on me, my wife should come first, my children should follow, then my parents, our parents. Because when we talk about my parents, it means that as a man, I'm limiting myself to my own parents, and yet I have my own wife in this marriage who sometimes also has parents. So we need to bring that kind of clarity, that if my wife has benefited, then my children have benefited. Then we look at how to strike a balance for our parents. That is my parents as the man, and then the parents of my wife, so that there is that that much understanding. And then when it comes to siblings, you know, one thing that I want us to be very clear here, and also to help those who are watching us, is that we need to be honest in a way that people should work hard. People should work hard. If somebody has grown to the age of 18 years, you should not be lazy to the extent that maybe you know that your elder brother or your elder sister is privileged, has a good job, and they are doing well in life. And therefore, you just take advantage that after all, I will benefit from them. We are going to kill our society with that. So people should just take it as a priority that it is my responsibility as an individual after I've reached a certain age to start working hard, building my own empire in order to have my wealth, so that even if I don't benefit from my brother or my sister, I don't feel like I've been sidelined. There is no sidelining. We can just extend giving to them as a maybe you want to show your kindness and acceptance that you belong to the same family and these are members of your family. But if it is put as a must or as a priority, then it is going to bring laziness to the society that we are growing, and people will tend to see that if my elder brother is doing well in life, I don't need to work hard. That is what I can say.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful perspective. Maybe you can bring your last also perspective and your parting shot.
Relationships have what you call red flags. Number one, if somebody is keeping information and you discover later, and most of these you'll discover them in small bits. If you ignore those discoveries, don't blame your partner in the long run. You are the fool. You need, because relationships have red flags, and anything major is built up over time. So if somebody can be having money in the account and you're not aware totally, there's a reason why they kept it out from you knowing. If they had bought a piece of land and you are never aware, there is a reason. Those reasons, however good they're explained, they're red flags. Practically. Now, there's another very unique behavior of ladies. If you are very quick in wanting to live the life you want, that your husband cannot afford, but you can afford, so that you start paying the rent because he can't afford that rent, but he can afford a smaller rent, you are also living a lie. Live a life that the lowest earner can afford. If you are to live practically a life that is long. For example, a household where, let's say a lady earns 20,000 and a man earns 80,000 per month as salaries. Live a life where 20,000 can afford. So that if the 80,000 was closed because the job was lost, you will still live the same life. If it is the opposite, where it is the man earning 20,000 and the lady earning 80,000, and therefore the lady has the desire to live a life supported by 80,000, some 2-bedroom house, yet the 20,000 can only afford a bed sitter, you are living a lie. Live a life that the lowest earner can afford. That is the family resource. If you are thinking backup, you are thinking long term, you are thinking sustainability. Anything else around that, we will hear your opinion and wait for you to become part of statistics, negative statistics for that matter. Now, there is another issue in relationships. When the man starts not paying rent because you insisted to go there, and now they can afford, but you continue paying, that's another red flag. Either he's so much injured that he just doesn't want the outside world to know that he has left you, or you are too much domineering that he has discovered that the best way to deal with you is to leave you live your life. So, ladies, it is not a positive thing to always do it your way simply because you have your way. But it's always good for both of you to discuss and agree. Now, this is nugget of wisdom, and I speak with confidence. Yeah, I always have some level of confidence that I got from my uncle before he died. So one of them is this, that when you want to have a long relationship of marriage, then the man should be aware that his people will never disown him successfully, but they can disown his wife. quickly. The lady should know that her people, however much she is bad the other side, she can never be disowned by her own family. But her husband can easily be ignored, thrown away, and forgotten. So if she wants to have a long family, she must be sure that in her family, her husband does not always pop up on the negative issues, but she'll always pop up on the positive issues. I will give personal example. We have learned that it works when I am the one sending money to my father or mother-in-law. I get more approval from their end than if my wife does the same. Now, if I go in my own home, I rarely carry even money. Even just buying 2 kgs of sugar, I rarely do that. But if my wife goes, we ensure she carries more than enough. So they will long for her to come because no, mtoto wetu ndio shida, bibi yake si shida. But where you want to really they want to be approved by your own people, you lose it because they will start telling you how that man of yours is bad and how you should. If it is the lady, they will tell you sasa mwanamume kama huyo una deal na yeye hivi. But where they say mtoto wetu na shida lakini bwana yake ni mzuri, they are likely to help you live a life because they will honestly sit with you down and discuss things that will add value to your marriage, your relationship, so that you become a good lady. In the process, they enrich your relationship. The same with the man. For example, my mom will always want to know how my wife is going on. And when my wife goes home, my mom feels better off. But the other thing is never be involved in the politics of the family of your spouse. Unaambiwa usisalimiange fulani, the other person is usually bad, the other home, if you go there, they will bewitch you. Please, those politics belong there. Don't be part of them. Don't welcome everybody. Treat everybody equally. Those who don't like that behavior, let them step aside. But where you take sides in the family you are getting married, either you are getting a wife there or you are getting a husband there. If you take sides, you have just lost it completely. And these are some of the basics of marriage that we ignore in the name of we are wise, we are educated, we have more money, we are more exposed, and we end up losing the entire family structure.
Thank you.
Please, when it comes to the issues to do with in-laws, and I'm specifically about the mother-in-law, and you are told, if you are a man, if your wife and your mother are sharply in disagreement and you have to only live with one, whom will you disown or whom will you put aside and remain with who? Kindly note that your mother is never replaced by your wife and your mother never becomes your wife. Now, you as the man of your house, you must be in charge of your house, and therefore tell your mom, leave my house alone. She can have a second chance to think about it and reason with you when you go to her house to say, Mom, I don't want my house to be in problems. That's why I didn't want you to enter there. So when the issue, call me aside. Don't interfere with it. Don't talk to my wife directly. I will sort it. But where you confront your wife in front of your mother, don't blame your wife. You are the problem. I pause.
Thank you very much for your parting shot. Quick parting shot.
It was the parting shot.
Yes, and it was.
The way I was keeping the parting shots, but it's fine.
It was parting shot. We have done 2 hours non-stop.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. There are some few questions I've asked for a case. I don't know whether he has read them, but let me hope he's going to address them in the parting shot.
Oh, he's here. Let me see.
Yes. I just want to say that we live in a culture. We live in a culture and in a society where we are required to help in one way or the other. In fact, most of the times you find yourself supporting the last 3 generations. You are supporting your grandparents, you are supporting your parents, and you are supporting yourself. Then you are also working to support your children. And therefore, our culture has taught us always to look back and to look forward, meaning that whenever I work, I have to make sure that something goes back to where I came from, and something also takes care of my current situation. Hardly do we do it for the future. And that's why we want our kids to do things that we never did, because we are leaving them to a certain point or a certain level. So this means that we should always live as a family. I always say that morality supersedes the law, because morality will make you do things that you are never compelled to do. If today we are gathered, we are 5 of us, and a bok or Wekesa decides to fart amongst us, we may not do anything to Wekesa, but morally that is not good. Or it's not good. But if Wekesa decides to steal Patrick's money, legally that is bad, or that is not right. And therefore, the best things that we can do in a society are things that are morally right. It is morally right to honor your parents. It is morally right to assist your siblings who are not able or who are needy. It is morally right to take care of the widows left behind by your brother or your siblings. Those are things that are morally right. And therefore, morals are the fabrics that bring us together as a society. When we forgo that, then we'll be struggling with who gets what, who is this person who has chased someone's wife because of the property somewhere. So when we live in our African context, we should just go back to to living as a family. Number two, Alphonse has addressed something which I needed also to talk about: the conflict that arises between the wife and the mother-in-law. Those things are they should not even happen in the first place. Because why would a daughter fight with the mother? Why would the daughter tell the mother nasty things about the son whom she has raised? And therefore, the fundamental principle should be, let your mom know that your wife is your wife. There are things that you can only get from your wife. And let your wife know that your mother is your mother. She can never be in that particular position. There are things that only your mom can give you, or only your mom gave you. And the boundary should be very, very clear. And because you are the uniting factor between your wife and your mother, if the link is weak, then the conflict is bound to arise. As a man, or as a husband, or as a son, this particular link should always be treated cautiously. You are the bridge. Someone is on the other side, and another one is on the other side. You show favoritism to one, the other one will raise questions. It is a balanced act that needs to be approached by a lot of wisdom. One last thing is we are talking about life and relationship. Relationship is the most important thing. And here we are talking about families. When everything is gone and you are left alone, look at that person whom you will be left with. Is he your mother? Is she your mother, your wife, or your brothers? So when you do that soul searching, you go back to the factory settings and realize that at this particular moment in time, the only person who can be with me is this particular person. Then that is the person you start investing in.
Right.
You have done your homework and you have seen that is the person you start investing in. Let us invest in our families. Let us invest in our brothers and our sisters. Let us invest in our wives and our daughters and sons, and life will be beautiful. You will not go home worried because you will be meeting somebody waiting for you, either ameiba kuku yako and now it's a chief's case or something. Life will be very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that. Shikuku, please give a very quick parting shot.
Thank you once again. First, I want to appreciate the topic that we've been discussing today about families and relationships. And, you know, the bigger society that we live in began from a family. And therefore, family becomes the basic unit in the society. And if the families are not strengthened to become strong, then the society will be reflecting what the families are. And therefore, that is why when we choose such topics, we need to be candid enough as we talk and talk about these topics exclusively to help maybe people who could be going through challenges. What I can say is that it takes two people to agree in order to walk when they want to go far. And there is this say that goes that divided we fall and united we stand. If the family want to stand, then they have to remain united. Even when differences come and there are disagreements, there must be better ways to deal with these things in order to grow the family, to grow the family to become more stronger than it was even before. And therefore, there is this last point that my brother Bok and Alphonse, they talked about, which is something that should also be emphasized about this relationship between mother-in-law and a daughter. As I began talking even before, I have said that after I have grown up to a certain age, there is independence that every individual needs. And that independency must be appreciated. That is when we will learn how to interrelate as we move forward. But the moment that interdependency is not there, and that interdependency is not there, then problem will be there. Problem will arise. Otherwise, I believe that when things are talked about, then there is a better way to grow our families to become stronger and stronger. And that is my parting shot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shikuku. Wekesa, quick parting shot.
Okay, I think mine will come from this worldview. I think there are different sets of families.
Continue. Wekesa?
We have lost him.
Yeah. Wekesa, okay.
Wekesa Rudy.
He's coming back.
Yeah, Wekesa Rudy, you give your parting shot, eh? All right. So maybe I can give mine if he's coming back.
Wekesa has to answer my questions.
Yeah.
Or I give my parting shot part 2. But Wekesa zitoroke.
Yeah. Give you part two parting shot briefly before Wekesa comes.
No, I'm okay. Just what I want to say that relationships work, marriages work, but first you must work at it for it to work. Yeah. So for those who are hoping that it works without working at it, those are the people who are destroying the commitments that relationships come with and the beauty that they have. If you don't work at it, please don't waste our time thinking that it will work. Yeah, and don't try. If you try relating, the good thing of people who start relationship with a trial version, they think they are very clever. Then they just discover the other person also was trying to see if they are serious, just as they were trying if the other one is serious. Then because of the two of you also trying and you discover the other person is not serious, they also discover you're not serious. Yet you assumed you are serious, only that you're on a trial version. So relationships are the things I usually say: enter when you're ready, and don't try to enter. In fact, enter full force so that the other person gets scared of how serious you are. They leave. That is a better situation than pretending that you are good, and then they discover later that you're not that good. You're just pretending.
All right.
Yeah. Are you ready to proceed, Patrick? I'm good. I will be talking tomorrow, so I'll come.
Right. It seems to Wekesa is completely offline, so I think he might have.
So maybe just Patrick, maybe about what was your question? What were your questions that you wanted Wekesa to respond to?
It's about Bukusu culture, whereby the mother-in-law are not supposed to greet the son-in-law. I understand. Maybe that's the question, right? About
Yeah, I also come from Luya. I'm a Wanga, not Bukusu, and the same happens. It's just an issue of respect, and there's something we call creating boundaries, and those boundaries are specifically meant for respect. In fact, even not the handshake, leave alone the handshake, looking at the mother-in-law eye to eye. You have to look down when you have to bow under your eyes so that you don't see eye to eye. Or my wife cannot look at my father eye to eye. Leave alone, even she can also not greet my father, but she can look at eye to eye. It's actually a high symbol of respect and a good sense of boundary. And that sense was created due to the fact that there was some misconduct issues in the past. And this is a very long past, past that even my grandfather only talks about as past. So, so to make these things clear, they say, therefore, you should not even enter the house of your son. Yeah, there's conditions to meet before you enter. My mother cannot just wake up and come to my house and enter, even if the door is open. Yeah, she has to make some shout and some talk very far away. We hear her voice, we talk. Then it's us to welcome her. If we don't welcome her, she can't enter. So it's an issue of respect, but it's also creating boundary, and this boundary has a lot to do with sexuality.
Okay,
that's what I can respond to.
It's okay. It's okay. Alphonse, this is I just want to add something onto that, and perhaps maybe Patrick will create time also to talk about it. That is the issue of culture and salvation, for example. Yeah, the issue of culture and salvation. You don't need to respond to it, but yeah. Wekesa.
Yes, let me begin from where Alphonse has left, because Abok had asked me about this issue. I think Alphonse has been decent enough not to display everything. But
for you, we know uliletewa auntie.
Me, I'm a madman and I can say anything. You know, the way your father can admire your wife. Yes. And because these guys were in a party and then they were dancing, and he found himself dancing with the daughter-in-law. So that is where the problem began. And for that, they prohibited. They should not mix. They should not even shake hands, because they realized they can also have feelings with each other. So to maintain that respect, they should not even greet each other. You greet them from a social distance, like that. Okay. I think now that is settled. On my parting shots, I would say that what we have been discussing about family and inheritance differs from one place to another one, depending on culture, depending on the social standing. When I talk about social standing, you know, mostly we have prosecuted at our level, but there are different family setups. That's why you had, there was a way the Odinga's family were influencing the heritage for Fidelis. And the issue is that is family-owned empires. When you have people who are living in a family-owned empires, the approach is completely different. When I look at my friends like the Hindus, what they do, they generate wealth even up to the third generation. So they don't even have a problem of those wealth issues. You have generated enough wealth such that even the third generation can benefit from your wealth. Like the company where I work in now, the grandson is the one running the company, and then the eldest sons are just there as the board members. Then the owner of the business has retired. So when we broaden it and also see that we need to create wealth not only for domestic and nuclear consumption, as we expand and have an abundant mentality, we will realize that at the level, when you are at the level of kina Uhuru Kenyatta, the level of Ruto, kina Eugene Wamalwa, Musalia, you will find it immoral for you to be super rich and your brothers are seriously poor. So you will start thinking about wealth distribution beyond your nuclear family. Somebody said that nobody is free until all of you are free. And so you want to even think about not only family as a nuclear, me, father, son, but you also look at, are your parents living at a good life standard? Are your brothers and sisters living a good life standard? So you will find that you start extending your tentacles to your parents-in-law, to your even your in-laws. You want them to be in that bracket. For us, what we practice in our family, we have by the way, as we are born 12, we are 12 siblings of my father. And so we have a family gathering. We normally
From
have
how many mothers?
One mother. Our mother gave out a dozen of, and I think my father was compensating because he was born alone. So he was born alone, so we are his brothers and sisters. So we are 12 of the 6 men and 6 ladies. What we normally do, we have a family gathering every end of the year. And we have made it even a point of, we do a rotational. If this year we are at this sister, the next year we will be at my brother. And so we have learned not only to build ourselves, but to build each other and grow up as a whole family of my father's family. And there are issues that we share and we want to build each other so that all of us can grow and succeed.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Wekesa. Now, I want us to get to the end of this session, but I want to confirm, since Wekesa's father had you, 12 of you, and I'm the only one also.
Yes. And 12 of my mother. He has two wives, and the second wife has 4. So we are 16. But Sisi took 12, the other one 4.
So I hope the ladies are hearing this, because my mother didn't do as much, but at least alikuwa na 8.
8.
Daddy had 3 wives, so
and
but
I normally ask myself.
But my grandmother had 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And about is confirming.
No, I've already confirmed, and I now know why we talk so much with this guy, this Mwendawazimu anaitwa Wekesa, because we are also 12 from one mother.
Wow. Yes. Wow. And I'm the 6th born.
And we are nine brothers.
Okay.
And my father had 2 wives, so in total we are 18 of us. 11 brothers. Yeah.
So mine is an issue here. We are only 4. I'm the only one, and I'm the only one. So I want to confirm. I'm going to get dozen.
So for you, you have 2 options. Yeah. You either go polygamous way, or that lady will be drained But you have to work hard to feed them with the current economy.
I'm going to have so I might go polygamous. I'm not sure, guys. Good night, everyone.
Why are you playing safe?
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Elsie. Yeah?
No, but Wekesa, you are not the right person to lead us. You led us and we got flopped.
Exactly. And
my voice is not found on the keyboard, so I normally use it when we are doing a drum. A drum I can do better, but a
use
keyboard,
the guitar.
I lose the keys.
So I will put for you music.
Where is Elsie? Yeah, put.
Amelala.
Can I?
Saini usiku.
Amelala.
Unless, yeah. So otherwise, guys,
we celebrate her in absentia. Let her have more years of abundance.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Abok, ubaki nyuma, Patrick akuweke kwa nyuma, hiyo tent ya nyuma.
Okay.
Peter, please come back. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Nimekuletea zawadi kidogo ulichokaribu